Welcome to our teaser episode. This is just a sample of what you will be seeing on our new weekly show, Battleground Wisconsin with Fraley and Opoien. I am Jessie Opoien, the opinion editor at the Cap Times, and joining me is Brian Fraley, president of Edge Messaging. Hey, Brian.
Hello, Jessie. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Life here in crucial Waukesha County is just peachy.
Excellent. Well, I am enjoying life in the bubble here in Madison, too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for this project. People talk about Wisconsin being a battleground. It's not just a battleground on the presidential level, although it certainly is. At every single level of government, political races are quite competitive. It started long before Scott Walker, but boy, did it really heat up during the recall and the aftermath. There's going to be competitive races for the legislature as the Republicans are going to attempt to get veto-proof majorities. The Evers administration moving into his second year. But today, for this little teaser, I think we should focus on all the stuff that's going on nationally with the Democrats and how it might impact Wisconsin and what people are hearing here. Specifically, Iowa caucus debacle. You're our Iowa connection. The New Hampshire kind of mixed results. And then everything that's going on with the DNC leadership turnover. What are you hearing from like the liberal inside circle?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I think, frustration throughout the country with what happened in Iowa. Every 4 years when we have the caucuses, we hear reasons why maybe Iowa shouldn't go first, maybe why New Hampshire shouldn't go first. And I think this time around, maybe we're seeing some more compelling reasons for that. Certainly the app was frustrating for everyone, but I think I hope at least it's opening up conversations about why these caucuses and primaries aren't necessarily representative of the party. That being said, we're seeing a complete failure for this field to narrow in any really definitive way, which on the downside is a little frustrating for Democrats watching this. On the plus side, maybe makes Wisconsin a little bit more relevant when our primary comes around in April. But here in Wisconsin, I think we're still not seeing a lot of action from most of the candidates that are focusing on those first four states.
With one exception, right? Mike Bloomberg.
So we've got, this field that's focusing on the primaries and caucuses. But if you turn on your TV anywhere in Wisconsin, you're going to see either Mike Bloomberg or Tom Steyer, the two richest guys in the race. And they are spending a lot of money here.
Yeah. And online too.
Online,
YouTube
and Bloomberg's opened up an office on the Capitol Square, which is about the most visible place you can get. Oh, yeah. He is across from the Capitol. You walk around the square and you're going to see that Bloomberg office. I got a call from a Bloomberg organizer the other day. They're really active here. And, with the exception of those two, and Elizabeth Warren's got a little operation going, there hasn't been a lot of action here in Wisconsin yet.
Yeah, I think there were some people wondering, will Wisconsin matter since the primary is so late on the Democratic side? Oh, I think it's going to matter. And I think the convention's going to matter too. In my predictions earlier this year, I predicted that we could have a brokered convention in Milwaukee. Every political junkie wants these things, right? But we've had turmoil with the Democratic convention in Milwaukee months before it started. Did you get any kind of feeling about, was this an insider versus New Jersey Democrat problem? Was it money issue? I mean, what was the crux of this?
Yeah, I'm not real clear, I guess, on what the forces were at play here, but I do think it's probably a good thing for Democrats involved in organizing this. Well, two good things for them. One, this is the host committee and not the people who are actually organizing the convention itself. So this is, the people who are shaking people down for money. This is a fundraising efforts. And fortunately, the people who are actually planning the event aren't necessarily caught up in this as much. Also good that this is happening months out as opposed to, a couple months before. There's time to recover from it. But they've put Teresa Vilmain in charge of this, which I think she probably should have just been in charge in the first place instead of maybe putting people out. Like she's a pro. People in Wisconsin are familiar with her. They respect her. Probably should have just gone with her in the first place.
I'm a conservative Republican in Waukesha County, but I was advocating for the Dem convention to come to Milwaukee. I think it's fantastic for the area. I think it's fantastic for the state. And I actually think it's going to be good for Republicans when all is said and done. But we'll get into that in future episodes, I'm sure.
Definitely. And maybe we'll be able to go have some beers up until 4 a.m. after this convention comes around, depending on how that legislation shakes out.
When I think about all the things Milwaukee needs, later bar time was right up there.
Right. Well, you can benefit in crucial Waukesha County too.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. We are in the greater area.
Right.
So one of the things I'm really interested in is this, what we heard from the Republicans and the income tax cut.
Right. So we've got these sort of warring proposals coming from the governor and from Republicans, but Republicans are pushing this tax cut pretty hard. Do you think this is just playing to the base in an election year, or do you think there's some chance that this turns into some real policy?
I think it's a done deal. As long as Fitzgerald and Voss agreed and their teams will come in line. What will be fascinating to see is what legislative Democrats do, because unless the governor tips his hand, they could end up voting against a tax increase or a tax decrease, a big tax cut in an election year that the Democrat governor signs. He's already signed one tax cut that they voted against. Will they do it again? It's going to be fascinating to see how those votes shake out on Thursday.
It seems like this is just a return to the theme that we keep coming back to, which is everyone agrees on this big principle, big idea, but there's disagreement between the two parties on how do you get there. And like you said, I think it's kind of up to legislative Democrats to figure out if they are going to come around on the details on this one.
Well, anyone who's had any time observing the Capitol, which both of us have had, understand that when they come up with $652 million or whatever it was in an election year, with the session winding down, it was going to be an interesting play. The Governor Evers wanted the money to go to schools. The Republicans said, we've given enough to schools the last couple of years of bigger increases. Let's return it back in the form of getting rid of the personal property tax and some other tax cuts. As a conservative, when you're battling about which taxes to cut, I'm okay with that.
I was going to say, when you're in an election year and you've got a pot of money to figure out what to do with, you're probably not in a bad spot.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, I think this wraps it up for our teas. We did this in part to test some equipment and test the connectivity here in Dane County and Waukesha County. I think that worked out. We're going to make some tweaks, and I cannot wait until we light this candle.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, guys, until we launch, for Jessie Opoien, I'm Brian Fraley. This has been Battleground Wisconsin with Fraley and Opoien.